It's Friday, 18 November, year of our Lord 2022. We had a whole show for tonight to talk about the border, to go to CPAC Mexico, all of it. It's been a little upended because of developments this afternoon. I want to bring in Jason Miller, former chief communications strategist for President Trump and senior strategist in 2020, senior comms in 2016. Now the CEO of Getter and doing a hell of a job over there. That thing's on fire. Jason, walk me through what happened today, and if Merrick Garland's been at this for 2 years and doesn't have anything of these grand juries or whatever they're doing, well, is this a pure political stunt?
Well, I think it's probably the most predicted, or most telegraphed, I should say, political stunt that we've seen in quite some time. I mean, they didn't even wait 3 full days, Steve, from after President Trump announced his candidacy on Tuesday to then moving ahead with the special prosecutor. I think the effort to go to a special prosecutor, I think, looks very political in the fact that Merrick Garland and the Biden administration are trying to pretend like their hands are off of it. There's nothing that they can do. This is just a force that's taking off on its own. But what they apparently have forgotten, Steve, or maybe never learned or never bothered to pay attention, impeachment 1, impeachment 2, Russia, go through the January 6th committee drama. Every single one of these things have reeked of being political. I think many people in America look at it and say, okay, here they go again, attacking President Trump.
Isn't it interesting? By the way, President Trump is going to address the nation from Mar-a-Lago at 8:30. Is it 8:30, Jason? Am I correct there? 8:30 p.m.?
Yes, 8:30, Mar-a-Lago, exactly.
Eastern time. I want to announce now the event. Grace Chong and Mo Bannon will set up. We'll do a Getter live stream. I got to tell you, Jason, as a side, I love those live streams. We were campaigning out, whether it was in Texas or in Arizona, New Mexico, anywhere. It was just amazing. The size of audiences we got were just incredible. So tonight at 8:30, we're going to be doing a live stream with the president's address or a discussion of this, because it's very important. Jason, you just went through the whole litany. I mean, Biden, 42% of the American people, not Republicans, think that's 70%. I think independents are over 50%, think the guy's illegitimate, thinks he didn't win the 2020 election. And they're running special prosecutors and said, hey, those people have only seen a scintilla of the evidence and they know he's illegitimate. How can they avoid the politicization? And particularly, it happened right after he announced for president. They came back for the lame duck, and is it David Ciccinelli, the guy on the J6 committee from Rhode Island? I think the only guy that didn't get turfed out totally, right? But he's going to lose his he's going to lose his subcommittee chairmanship. He's put up a law. They've actually put legislation forward. He's looking for co-sponsors. He put it out in Politico playbook the other. He's looking for co-sponsors to pass a law that Trump can't run for office anymore. I mean, the fear they have of this guy is incredible. Did they hand Trump the Republican nomination by doing this, sir?
Most likely. And Steve, by the way, I think I saw a couple of chinchilla coats at Mar-a-Lago at President Trump's announcement on Tuesday. But David Ciccinelli from Rhode Island was the Democrat who came out.
Ciccinelli.
Literally is trying to bar President Trump from running again. Just as we saw in August when they launched the Mar-a-Lago raid, the media and the Democrats have a unique way of galvanizing the Republican Party behind President Trump in a way that he couldn't do, even if he said, today I'm going to galvanize and bring together the Republican Party. When the media and the Democrats pile on like that, they do it in a way that even brings people who have never voted for President Trump to look at it and say, this is political, this is over the top, this is ridiculous. Shouldn't we be talking about inflation at the southern border, all the crises that are going on? In fact, we're on the brink of war with Russia. They're doing it all over. They can't help themselves. Here's the reason why. You made a comment about the legitimacy of Biden, but here's the one thing, Steve. They're deathly terrified that Biden's doing the spotlight now. He can't even tell the difference, as we've talked about, between Colombia and Cambodia.
Yeah. What would you recommend to the guys in the House? MTG, we're trying to track her down. She's getting off a plane. She's going to come on. No, Gates has had some things to say. What would be your recommendation to the folks in the House about either moving forward with an impeachment of Garland or cutting off the appropriations of this? How aggressive do you think the House should be on this? It's kind of like, hey, we've had enough of this. You've taken, 2 impeachment shots. You got the J6 investigation. You had the grand juries. You took all your shots. We're just not going to tolerate this anymore.
So my personal thought, without having chatted with President Trump or other folks on his team about this, is be as aggressive as possible, for the simple fact that they're never going to pull back. The Democrats and the media are never going to stop attacking President Trump. They're going to go full board. Now, on the issue of impeachment, I firmly believe that Joe Biden has probably done several different things, whether it be Ukraine, whether it be the southern border, whether it be the Hunter and the rest of the Biden crime family business dealings, that are all probably impeachable offenses. We have to be careful. We have to be careful on this. We don't overreach and allow him to essentially do the reverse of what they're doing to Trump. We don't want to galvanize a very weak Democratic base for Joe Biden to then rally behind them and say, here come the Republicans, here come the conservatives. There is a political calculus that goes into it, so I'm going to kind of reserve my judgment. Yes, he deserves it. I'm undecided about whether or not this is the right time to do something on that.
What about pressing back on Merrick Garland?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that the way that we've seen the DOJ, the way we've seen the FBI all become weaponized, they're third world countries are laughing at us and saying, how do you criticize us? How do you criticize Cuba? How do you criticize Venezuela when you guys are just as bad, if not worse, in many regards? I think absolutely. We have the power of the purse. We have the House. We need to go and do everything we can to stop the political attacks from the DOJ and our weaponized law enforcement system, 100%. And by the way, Steve, that press conference yesterday, the Jamie Comer House Oversight Committee and Jim Jordan, the incoming Judiciary Committee chairman, was gold. It was very well put together. It was detailed. And the Democrats are running scared about the freight train that Comer and Jordan are bringing for the Biden family.
I just want to make sure, just reiterate that to the audience that they were not, the mainstream media and the White House were not prepared for that. They came away, they were shocked how detailed Comer is and how they'd already had so much investigative work themselves. Correct? Absolutely.
And Jamie Comer's a good guy. I know him a little bit. Made some TV ads for him a number of years ago during his first congressional run. Very detailed, very thorough, and there was nothing that they could counter. It was so well laid out, and it tied Steve right back into the CCP. That was the thing that, without having had any conversation with Jamie Comer, I was particularly impressed by. All roads keyed on it. CCP, Chinese Communist Party. So I really liked what I saw from Jamie Comer. I think we're going to have good things coming. Of course, I'm a huge Jim Jordan fan, and he'll bring the heat on the Judiciary Committee.
Last thing, the President's going to have comments tonight, 8:30, and Getter gives us the flexibility. So everybody will be on Getter at 8:30, or maybe beforehand, and we'll have a pre and post talk commentary will be up there. Jason, Matthew Tiermont came on the last hour, and I gave a speech today at CPAC Mexico City, and a big part of it was about Getter and about Brazil. You have millions of people in the streets now. This is not about the Bolsonaros anymore. And they love Bolsonaro, don't get me wrong. There's a very deep revolt going on in Brazil right now for the people and about their constitution and about following the constitution. It's actually incredible to see. And just Getter has just been incredible about that. Talk to us about what you're seeing down in Brazil. And I understand you have to be careful because they're trying to shut down every social media platform down there.
Right. What I can tell you, Steve, is that the passion for free speech rights that we're seeing from Brazil is truly remarkable right now. And it's not only Brazilian press is paying attention, even that Brazil's version of the New York Times, based on Sao Paulo, they've even done massive stories on this. But you have even Western press, whether it be the New York Times, whether it be the Financial Times, or the Washington Post, who are now paying attention to the erosion of free speech rights in Brazil. We're at an inflection point, I think, in many places all around the world. Is there going to be a stand for free speech, or is there going to be a slouch towards authoritarianism? And this is the debate that's happening, and we will always together stand for free speech, stand for our innate ability to communicate and never back down from the fight.
Look, you've been very classy about this as CEO of a competitor, although a much smaller competitor than Twitter, although Kara Swisher, I think, of the New Times did repost a comment you made today and trolled Elon Musk. What is going on over at Twitter? I keep saying, he bought a crime scene and now the perps are all leaving the building. But what's your assessment? It's still dominating the news cycle this afternoon of whether Twitter is going to make it or not. What exactly is going on? What are your thoughts?
Steve, we've talked about this before. Startup leadership, whether it's starting up a small business, starting up a social media platform, a multinational social media platform, or starting, say, even a campaign, is completely different from the Jack Welch or Mitt Romney Bain Capital turnaround. And what Musk's strength has always been is that he's an innovator. He's one of the greatest innovators of our lifetime, probably the greatest innovator. His strength is innovation. His strength is not going in and taking a company that is losing money and trying to make them profitable. And so I think he walked into a hornet's nest on this one, and I don't think he realizes how many more hornet stings he has come in his direction. This thing is completely imploding. In fact, we put out a statement with Getter a few hours ago saying, hey, folks, join Getter because you can import your entire tweet history with your Getter account, whether it be your music files, your memes, all of your different things you have saved. So import it in because, hey, we might wake up in a week. Twitter might not be there. They've gone from 7,500 employees. Granted, most of them all deserve to get fired, so I'm totally with Elon on that. They may only be at a couple thousand, 1,000 or 2,000 employees now. They're not sure.
Well, no, and the problem, I put up, he's in Saigon in 68. It's not just down to 2,000. Any one of those guys could take a system and just trip it off the line. This is why they blocked employees from coming back into the building today because they asked them to work the long, tough hours that guys at Getter work 7 days a week and have worked since you guys have launched. No, I told people, I said, hey, if you want to ensure that you've got your Twitter history, you ought to come over to Getter, just boot it up. You don't even have to you keep using Getter. Just come back. You'll come back when Twitter implodes. But no, I think it's one of the benefits of Twitter. And I would tell everybody, why would you give Twitter a shot right now when Twitter's up in the air, whether it's going to be around tomorrow or not?
Exactly. And Steve, one of the things I always give people a bad time on, whether it be it's a company or whether it's we have many, many good ideas. Sometimes people, whether it's a Getter or people in our political friends, have ideas that are not necessarily all that great. The thing I always present to them is define victory for me. How do you define victory on what you're seeking to embark on? And I think somebody sat down with Elon Musk and said, define victory. How do you think you're actually going to be successful in what you're talking here? Because, he could have just as big of a voice on Twitter without owning the thing. And now he's going to lose a whole bunch of money. I don't think they thought through what is victory. And if you told me a year ago that Getter was going to outlast Twitter, I probably said, I appreciate the sentiment, but I'm not sure how accurate you are. Twitter could go under any day now.
Getter, what's your Getter account? And by the way, the War Room may get you over for a few comments tonight at 8:30 after the president's talk to the nation about this outrage. What's your Getter account?
At Jason Miller in D.C. Follow us on Getter. It's exciting, and of course, hopefully, you're watching on the live stream on Getter right now.
Yes, our biggest audience. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, Jason.
Thank you, Steve.
Do I have MTG yet? Because okay, fine. Let's see if we can track it down. But I want to go to Todd Bensman. Todd, we had I gave a talk at the CPAC Mexico City today that went over, I think, to me, surprisingly well. And I talked about the issues on the southern border and working together, particularly with conservatives down there. But the really thing I talked about was about elections and free speech and this revolution you're seeing coming now from the left, where they're stealing elections and taking over powerful countries like Brazil, and what that's going to do to the migration and to people coming north. In the morning show, we had the mayor of Uvalde, Texas, who they flew in for a meeting the other day, and the reason we wanted him on the show, they said he flew into a meeting and said, hey, because of Title 42 being taken away, that starting on December 21st, 4 days before Christmas, and this is a town that has no extra resources. It's one of these typical tiny little towns, I think of 10, 12, 15,000 people in Texas, in West Texas, that is not sitting there with a lot of extra resources, right? And they told him, hey, starting on the 21st, every day you're going to get a minimum of 180 what they call migrants. We got to drop them off here because we got to drop these guys off of all these different places. And you're one, the crossroads between, down near Eagle Pass. And the guy told me, he says, well, hold it, you got to give me some resources. I don't have anything to do. And they said, hey, we don't have anything, but we're going to drop the people off. And he said he talked to some people and they go, look, don't mind because this has happened in communities all over South Texas. What Bensman, what is going on here? How can this radical federal judge just take this away and there's no planning for it, there's no resources for it, and they're just going to dump them? And I said to the mayor, I said, what are you guys doing? He says, hey, what we're trying to do is organize buses so we can get these guys on buses and get them out of here as fast as possible. Not that we're not caring, feeling people, and it's the Christmas season, but he says we just can't take that level of people. Every day, says in a week, we'll have like 10% of the town's population. We don't have any extra resources to do it. He says we have a homeless problem, we have a drug problem, we have a fentanyl problem, we have a crime problem. And then he tops it off by the school where those young children were butchered by that savage. He said, hey, in the last 12 months, in the 12 months leading up to that massacre, they had 50 lockdowns on that school, all from illegal aliens blowing through the town, trying to escape Customs and Border or Texas authorities, where they knew that the school was a safe zone to drop off near, and they had 50 lockdowns, hard lockdowns. It's out of control. How can these small Texas towns exist? This is not America. How can they continue to exist after Title 42 comes off, sir?
Well, like we say, we've said this before, the intelligence community is predicting between 12,000 and 18,000 a day. We're at about 7,500 a day right now, which is an overwhelming, crushing wall of humanity as it is. But when we have 18,000 a day or 12,000 a day, 540,000 a month, it's just going to be pandemonium. And that's one of the reasons why the Biden administration said, thank you, Judge, but just hold on a minute. Let us get the infrastructure in place to be able to move everybody through smoothly and orderly. That is this administration's goal. This is their ideology, that we don't want to pause, slow down the flow. We don't want to deter the flow. We want as much flow as we can possibly get. That's what they're, and we've never seen anything like this. And what's going to happen on the day? They're already crowding in. They're pulsing forward just on the news that 42 is about to end. But listen, 42 has already been slowly but surely squeezed down to about 35% of all immigrants crossing the border illegally. They've moved. When Trump was in office, it was 87, 89% pushbacks. Biden moved it down to 60%, down to 50, 40, and now 35%. So already most everybody who's crossing, 65, 70% are being ushered into the country, not including the gotaways, That's a whole other 2 million. We are looking at an incredible tsunami coming.
Let me hang on for a second, because I want to make sure people understand the scale of these numbers, and just roughly at 10,000 a day. Think about that: 10,000 people a day.
That's a conservative number.
Excuse me. You said 12,000, 18,000 a day. I'm sorry.
Right.
At 12 to 18,000 a day, an Army division is roughly 10,000 men. So at the upper end, you're almost at 2 Army divisions a day coming in illegally with these phony asylum. These are phony asylum claims, 100% phony. Okay, phony, and they know it. They're breaking law.
Yes, they are.
The 540,000 a month. I want people to understand this. I may be off slightly, but I don't think I'm too far off. The number of troops that landed on D-Day, the most sacred outside of Gettysburg Day, probably in American military history as far as being on offense, was 175,000 people. So it's almost 3x, almost 3 times D-Day. The entire Patton's Third Army that swept across, broke out of the hedgerow, swept across France, and really went all the way, and could have gone to the heart of Berlin, but went all the way to the Rhine River and was stopped. That historic Third Army, and went to Bastogne and everything like that, that was 325,000 men. You're having more than the army, the American army that won in Europe in World War II. The scale of these numbers is virtually every month. By the way, it's almost 2 times the Third Army and 3 times D-Day. These numbers, Todd, these numbers are at such a scale as to boggle the mind. And the mainstream media won't cover it. And Mayorkas can sit there. I saw a video today. He just sits there and goes, the border's secure and it's my number one priority. Is he a psychopath when he says that? Does he expect us to actually be? But why does he say that as mantra? Just to trigger War Room, to trigger Bannon, or is he a sociopath? You got to help me out here, brother. I can't. Mayorkas, I have a tough time taking Mayorkas. Or he's like this weird, like gnome.
No, I've thought about that a lot, and the best I can come up with. I mean, I can't get inside their brains, but the best I can come up with on that is that their definition of secure is different than everybody else's definition. That their definition of secure means that there's no Del Rio migrant camp popping up. They're moving them through smoothly. Everybody's moving in smoothly, coming, and no buildup that you can see. No news drone footage of masses and masses of people stuck on the riverbank. So if that's not happening in their definition, that is secure. That's secure. In my definition, and the definition of almost everybody I know, any normal person, it's that nobody's coming. They've got it stopped. There's nobody coming.
I want you to take a second, because you're the one thing about yours. The dog's fine. We know we got a lot of dogs on the show. A lot of dogs. Bensman, you're a good man, and you're a fair man, right? And people don't realize Todd spent years in intelligence work for the Texas Department of Public Safety on this topic. He's one of the reasons we love having him on the show. His books are the best. He works at CIS, which is the best. His numbers are always on, and people, even people who don't agree with our politics always ask for Bensman's number. I want to make sure I hear from Todd Bensman. When we say that these asylum, because we're not cruel people, I keep saying that these people are upon, and they're doing the rational thing. When you're invited up, make a run for it. You and I would do it. We bring the kids to, make a run for it. The worst, Uvalde mail says, they give them a phone, they give them cash, you'd be irrational not to do it. Particularly when Brazil's falling with Lula, and you got Argentina with 9,000% inflation, and you got Colombia, and you got Bolivia. You got all these nations that are falling to either left-wing populist or to Marxists. They're all going to be Venezuela one day. Let's get the kids and let's run up there. Biden's invited us. But I just want to ask, from our perspective, these are not even close. Uvalde guy, he's some mayor of South Texas, West Texas. He sits and goes, the asylum thing's totally made up. These are not asylum seekers. We all know that they're just looking for they're looking for better jobs. They're looking for good jobs and a better place to live. That's not a reason that we can grant asylum. And Biden, these guys knowingly, this is why they got to get impeached. They're knowingly breaking the law as it exists today to make sure that we actually have an asylum system. Correct, Todd Bensman?
That's correct. And I'll tell you this, I'm going to give you a little preview of a story that I will be running at CIS.org on Monday with video and print for my trip down to the border. Is the new face of the mass migration crisis. It is evolving to something that I think the general public has no idea about. The Biden administration has now cut deals with the Mexican government to hand deliver pre-approved immigrants at the ports of entry from the Pacific Ocean all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico and into the interior of Mexico, where the Mexicans will process them in for the Americans, CBP, on a data portal, shared, CBP1 it's called. And they're granting them something called humanitarian parole while they're in Mexico. And then the Mexicans hand deliver them to the Americans at the bridge so that nobody can see it. And it looks to be happening at ports of entry throughout the border. So they're legalizing border crossing. You can't call this illegal entry.
Bensman, I gotta hold you. I gotta hold you. I gotta hold you through the break, just for a couple of minutes. I know you're busy. You gotta get back to your family, because only Todd Bensman can make my head blow up like that. But hey, by the way, I'm gonna break a story. Just what are you talking about?
Just pay attention.
Okay, we're gonna take a break. He's showing his little ankle, and that shows you the deviousness. It shows you Todd Bensman said from day one, don't think it's chaos down there. They got this whole thing thought through. They're setting up a processing business, right? You guys are in the border patrol business. You're running around catching 1 and 2 guys, stuff like that. They're in the processing business, and they're processing as many as they can before we take over in the House. Okay, short commercial break. Todd Bensman, CIS. Hopefully we go back to CPAC, Mexico. We get some folks there. MTG, we're putting it together. See you back here in a second.
War Room Battleground with Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, welcome back. I want to go. Congressman MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is called in. She's on the road. She's pressed for time. Congressman, they announced a special prosecutor today, special counsel, Jack Smith, who's known as a political hack, went after Governor McDonnell years ago and had it reversed by the Supreme. When he was thinking about running for president, had it reversed by the Supreme Court 9-0. Your thoughts, ma'am?
Well, I just want to tell Jack Smith he's not going to get much of a paycheck, because I'm going to do everything we can to make sure that there is zero American taxpayer dollars appropriated for Merrick Garland's special counsel, which is nothing but the Democrat Party's campaign arm to campaign against President Trump when he is running for president in 2024, and they're trying to use the American tax people's money, hard-earned money, to do it. And let me tell you something, Steve. I'm already far down the line because I've been working on this today. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to work on the Appropriations Committee, and we're going to do it either 2 ways. We're going to use this one method. We're either going to use the Holman Rule, which we're going to be putting in our House rules, which will allow us to reduce or cut the funding, the salary or funding of any federal program, especially in the special counsel's case. Or what we can do is we can completely take it out of appropriations and put in the appropriations bill saying that no funding can go towards the special counsel. And that's what we're going to be doing here. And it's going to be real simple, Steve. The Democrats want to continue to use and abuse the FBI, the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, all of these big federal agencies, and they're abusing it on the American taxpayers' dime. Well, we're done with it. We are absolutely fed up. We saw it with Russian collusion, with the Mueller investigation. We're not going to do this again. So that's it. We're going to stop them, and we're going to do it through the power of the purse.
Hey, Congressman Greene, you're one of the fire breathers and the leaders in the House. You got Matt Gaetz, you got Jim Jordan, you got others. Do you think the rest of your colleagues will hunker down for the simple reason that, hey, President Trump announces, and a couple of days later, 48 hours later, they announce a special prosecutor after they've had 2 years to do this with Merrick Garland? Do you believe the rest of the Republican conference will agree with you and say you're absolutely correct? We either use the Holman Rule or we just use riders on appropriations, but we're not going to give these guys a dime.
Well, one of the things that I'm going to continue to be committed to doing, Steve, is telling the American people the truth, even if it's not the truth that they want to hear from me at times. And I don't believe that all of them are fully committed right now at this time, but that's something we got to work on. Just like right now, we're not committed. We're not all together on who we're voting for speaker, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to fill you in on that in just a second too. But we've got to get committed to doing these things. So I'm going to continue pressuring my Republican colleagues in fighting for this. But I think a large majority are already on board with it. And I've been on a plane for 2 hours flying down here to Mar-a-Lago tonight and to meet with President Trump and others tomorrow. I've already talked to multiple members of Congress on this, and they are supporting what I'm saying. So I don't think this one is going to be too hard to get past the line. We just have to get everyone together. And then on the speaker vote, the situation there, I've been talking with a bunch of members of Congress also all week on this, and I just heard today that that there was mention of Steve Scalise for a potential name being brought up to be voted on January 3rd for speaker. But here's what happened. There's so many people supporting Kevin McCarthy. We nearly have everyone saying that they will not vote for Steve Scalise. So that effort is already defeated, and it hasn't even started. So I'm just telling you, we're getting united. We just have to continue pulling people together. And Steve, I'm going to be committed to it because I want Republicans to be successful. And Kevin McCarthy's already committed to these investigations that we want to be able to do. And he's going to support us. And I think he's going to support us on the Holman rule. And I think he's going to support us on what we want to do with the purse strings, the American people tax dollars. He does it. He's sick and tired of everything being used political, just like the American people are. And that's what Merrick Garland is trying to do with the special counsel. So we're still fighting it out in our conference, but we'll pull this one together.
Congressman Greene, thank you very much. Good luck tonight with the president and then tomorrow in the meetings. We'll put all your social media up so people can follow you. Thank you, ma'am.
Fantastic. Thanks, Steve.
Just heard it right there, throwing down hard, the appropriations. This is going to make or break this McCarthy trying to pull this speakership together. If he can convince people he can be tough. I know a lot of the audience are absolutely shocked that MTG would be there, but I do think we have seen a different angle of attack, I would say, on McCarthy. And quite frankly, that's because of this audience and other people that support these hardline MAGA Republicans who want action. Todd Bensman, I want to go and continue on the McCarthy situation because right now you also have to have a set of stones to face it. We have the ability to stop this nonsense and to stop this invasion of the southern border. You can, on the appropriations bill, you can just say, we're not doing this anymore. We're not going to fund this stuff. And quite frankly, this story that you're going to break on Monday, because I've worked this, I've been in this line of work on the border for now 12 years. That's a blockbuster story, if even half of that is true, because it shows you the insidious nature of this regime and what they're doing and the games they're playing to actually exacerbate the invasion. It shows you how well thought through. They can't do anything in the country to help anybody, but they can sure think through 10 different moves of how to make it even an increased invasion on the southern border and into the United States and then deep into the interior. What do you think has to do? And do you think McCarthy, as Speaker, has the stones to do what needs to be done? Because I got to tell you, there's some I see fighting through and how they're going to fight through and they'll blink. If you cut them off on their ability to let the invasion of the southern border continue, right? Because Schumer told you what it was about. It's not Steve Bannon. It's not Gateway Pundit. It's not Breitbart. It's not War Room. It's Schumer. He's saying, "Hey, you're not having enough babies, so we need to get more foreigners in." That was Schumer at the microphone. Do you think, sir, as you know them and you work with them every day and you brief them every day, do they have the stones that you need to essentially? Because Biden would shut the government down if they said, "No, we're not playing your games anymore. We're not funding this madness on the southern border." Todd Bensman.
I'm not a huge optimist on this. My feeling was that if the Republican damage had been broader and deeper, because listen, the mass migration crisis at the border was one of the top 3 area issues of concern to all Americans. And it didn't really resonate in a damaging way, as much of a damaging way as it was expected to. And I thought that if it had really hurt the Democrats to the bone marrow, that they might have been malleable on this issue. But I think that they're looking at this. I saw Biden come out right after the results and he was asked, is anything going to change in your policies as a result of this? And he said, nothing. And I believe him. I'm going to believe him. I think the Republicans will try. There are in the Freedom Caucus, there are good Republicans who are good on this issue, who I think are going to push and agitate, as well they should, for.
But do you think McCarthy? They have he has 8 now. He has 8 or 10 hard no votes. The only way you can convince these guys that I am going to be tough, I'm going to go. The Republicans can't hide from this issue now. There's been too much reporting. People know too much. My point is there'll be a revolt from this audience and from all the other conservative audiences because of everything we have. Even the spending is tied back to this. If you don't stop this on the southern border, we don't have a country. It's that simple. And so they're going to literally have the bayonet to their back, the proverbial bayonet to their back. Don't back up. You got to keep going. Do you see that on the Republican side? Because when your story comes out next week, it's going to be one of 100 just layered up, that it's impossible for them and run away and not look at this as reality that has to be addressed.
Right. Well, what needs to happen is at least some effort to play with the purse strings on this. But we saw just a few years ago when Trump was facing a kind of a similar situation, he was trying to get things done at the border. And we had a standoff, and they closed the government, and ultimately it didn't work as well as it was what it was intended, how it was intended. I'm not sure how well the purse strings work on this particular issue, because the levers all lead pretty much to the White House, and then from there to DHS, Mayorkas. So, I mean, if they want to keep this going, and it seems like they do, I think they're going to find ways to just keep it going. And one of the ways is, as I just mentioned, to, pre-approve thousands upon thousands of immigrants for humanitarian parole while they're still in Mexico, and then just walk them over the bridge. I was there. I got into the interior of the Mexican side of the operation. They gave me full unfettered access, and I watched them do it on a data portal shared, a CBP1 data portal shared with the Mexicans, and they're just putting all these names in there, and they're bringing them over, and you can't see that in a Fox News drone overhead. This is all hidden behind federal walls, and it seems like it's increasing and increasing and increasing under something called legal pathways. The Mayorkas people are saying we are creating legal pathways at the southern border. That's a whole different thing. That's a game-changing kind of a change to the immigration process. Now, there is litigation in Florida, the state of Florida, about humanitarian parole, the questionable legal authority that they're using for this. In my opinion, I'm not a lawyer, but the law is very simple, and even for somebody like me, and it really does seem like they are breaking the law. They're misusing humanitarian parole on a massive scale. So people need to pay attention to that Florida lawsuit at this point. You're not going to see the migration numbers go up as much, and they may even go down, the apprehension numbers, because they're moving them to the ports of entry, over the bridges. You can't see it, and they don't log as an illegal alien apprehension. None of them log that way.
Let me, last thing, is the Abbott dropped this on the day of President Trump's launch of his campaign. And people know Abbott's ambitious. Also, it was literally ripped from Carrie Lake's, what she was going to do or will do on her inauguration as governor the very first day, is send a warning shot to Biden, give him 30 days, and then declare an invasion, give Biden 30 days to deal with it. Is Abbott's performative, or is this real?
Here's what I can tell you, based on my relationship with somebody who is very high up in Texas state government, that they have certain plans that do not include rounding up illegal aliens and kicking them back to Mexico. That is not on the table. They do plan to do some things that are new, but I couldn't get a good beat on what that is. But something is coming. Something's happening. But it's not going to be what everybody was hoping for, what Kari Lake was promising to do. But for the most part,
why is Abbott not have the balls to call for an invasion? That's an invasion of Texas and take all those emergency measures that he's authorized to do. Why won't he do it?
I have an answer to that. One reason that this is from them is that under Title 42, Border Patrol routinely kicks illegals back, 35% only now, but they're still doing it. And by the way, those ones that they're kicking back under 42 are coming in on the bridges now. They gave them an escape hatch to come in legally. Okay, but that's Monday. What the Texas leadership is concerned about there is that if Texas were to start doing the same thing, they would just turn right around and come back in, just like they do when Border Patrol does. They would have to do something else like fly them to their home countries or something like that. And when Texas does push them back, like Title 42, a Texas-style Title 42, they don't have the ability to check fingerprints on the federal side and biometrics on the federal side, because the federals will not cooperate with something like this. On the Texas side, there's a Grand Canyon-sized chasm in cooperation on that issue, and they're worried that they'll push back terrorists and criminals that they don't know, who then, when they come back, they won't be able to catch them the next time.
Wow!
So that's the
sounds like their explanation, looking for an answer. A dodge, looking for explanation. Todd, how do people get to you, particularly for the big drop on Monday and also the book?
Right, T. Bensman at Getter. That's the best way to follow me. ToddBensman.com. I'm with the Center for Immigration Studies. My forthcoming book, it'll be out in February, all about this border crisis, documenting how it started, who started it, why it started, and what it looked like on the ground, is called Overrun. It's back over here over my shoulder. Which one? The red book there. How Joe Biden unleashed the greatest border crisis in U.S. history. Be out in February, but it's available for pre-order now.
Wish that had been out before the election, but good. It's going to be great in February as we get into these investigations and these hearings. Todd Bensman, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming on, brother. Sure. Everybody ought to get that book. By the way, MTG just texted me and said she talked to Kevin McCarthy and wanted to report that Kevin McCarthy said 100% there will be no funding for a special counsel. Zero funding from him for a special counsel. Just saying. The guy's running, and he's trying to meet people's demands. I understand people got a lot of problem with it. They got 10 no votes. We'll report on more of that tomorrow, because that's going to be a big deal. 8:30 tonight, also on Getter for the Life. I want to go to John Mills. Colonel Mills wrote a brilliant piece. We got everything with the Chinese Communist Party, the laptop from hell. You got Biden over there rubbing up against Xi, trying to take down tensions. Tensions are still high as we don't respond to the hot economic war they've got us, or the hot information war. John Mills has come up with some quick solutions. John, walk us through this piece in Epoch Times of what we need to do ASAP to be sure we're ready militarily for the CCP.
Well, yeah, the piece was nothing will change until nothing changes in Epoch Times. And it's about really the American naval buildup, and say, hey, what the heck do I, an Army officer, know about the American naval buildup? Well, for 12 years, we've been trying to keep a spreadsheet straight on building the U.S. Navy from 285 to 355, 400, 500. I mean, they're running out of spreadsheets at the Pentagon, and we've got to get this straight. Now, my proposal, I know the Navy's going to really not like this, but there was a general named Leslie Groves who ran He was an Army general, an Army engineer. He built the Pentagon, and then he ran the Manhattan Project to build our first nuclear weapons. I think the Navy needs to focus on forward deployments and op tempo here, and we really need to get our shipbuilding, our shipyards. We have to recapitalize them. A lot of people don't realize, the youngest dry dock in Pearl Harbor is about 80 years old, and the oldest one is over 110 years old. I mean, we have got to recapitalize our existing shipyards and expand them. And I think it's time to place an Army engineering general in charge to march this to completion, because the Navy has been fooling with this for 12 years. It's becoming a joke in the halls of the Pentagon. They can't keep the shipbuilding plan straight. And so why don't we let the Navy focus on forward operations and have an Army engineer general come in and expand all the shipyards?
The reason I had to do this, I showed it to my daughter, who's an Army officer. I'm a naval officer. Only the Army could come, but it's actually quite a brilliant idea. I'm not saying I agree with it, all my Navy colleagues, but Leslie Groves was a special guy. John, how do people get your new book that's out? Because it's about your journey. I think it's a wake-up call to a lot of people in this audience about what's really going on in the Pentagon and the national security state. How did they get to it?
This is thenationwillfollow.com, www.thenationwillfollow.com. And you wrote a brilliant preface, Steve. Thank you. But this was about my journey, where I realized when I was in the Office of Secretary of Defense, and I'd spent time at the White House at the end of the Bush, beginning of the Obama years. But in about 2016, I realized there was colleagues spying on candidate Trump, and then President Trump. And then I got a call a few days on the top secret phone, a few days after President Trump won the election. Says, John, you've got to be on this interagency committee. We're going to finalize the Russia story, and we're going to delay or block the inauguration of President Trump in the first term. The coup was on. The coup was real. So this is the story, and go through it. How it took me 4 years getting in front of Durham.
Where do they go? Real quickly, what website do they go to get it?
thenationwillfollow.com. The Nation Will Follow. That's the name of the book. Nation Will Follow, and it gives them it's all about action for the citizen.
Colonel John Mills, thank you very much. Tomorrow morning, back here at 10 a.m. See you then.